Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our show, Timeout with Derek and Joe. I'm Derek Gano for Joe Azalina. We have a great show planned for you today, all about football, as you can tell with my cheese head here and my Aaron Rodgers jersey. I'm fully ready for football season, and we are week one into the season, but at this time, by the time everyone sees this, we might be done with 2 weeks. But so we have a little interesting show here planned. What do we got, Joe?
So on tonight's show, we will be discussing the NFL recap of week one. We then will be giving our predictions for the season and our records and playoff pictures. So a lot to come here for the NFL here tonight on the Timeout Show. So we have the Chiefs in Thursday Night Football last week. They beat the Texans 34-20. And Derek, what about that rookie running back from Kansas City?
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he looked really good. We talked about him a little bit on yesterday or last week's show. 138 yards and a touchdown. He looked very fast out there. And we talked briefly about it being the first game of the season and the atmosphere and whatnot. And it wasn't too bad, honestly, in Kansas City, at least in comparison to a lot of the games that I saw this past week that were completely empty. But it was a very high scoring game for the Chiefs, and well on their way till getting this to save their crown, I guess, for last year's champions. A team who may have something to say about that is the Seattle Seahawks, who is their next game there, who defeated the Atlanta Falcons 38-25. Big game from Russell Wilson in that one.
Yeah, he threw 4 touchdown passes, and he's so mobile. He's so mobile on the field, but he has weapons all over the place in Metcalf at receiver and Chris Carson in the backfield. So Seattle definitely looked pretty good, and they beat a pretty decent Falcons team. The Falcons will be pretty good this year, I bet. Moving on to our third game, it was the Buffalo Bills, who start the season at 1-0, beating the New York Jets 27-17. And Derek, what do you think about quarterback Josh Allen from Buffalo?
He just keeps racking up the stats, doesn't he? We talk fantasy sometimes, and Josh Allen is a really good quarterback because he can run. A lot of teams don't have quarterbacks that can run like that, and every game you see him racking up. He has another 57 yards and a touchdown, and if you have someone who can complete 33 of 46 passes like he did, as well as run for 50 yards, that's going to be tough to defend against a lot of the time, especially if you're the Jets, I guess, right? Poor Jets. Our next game here is the Chicago Bears took on the Detroit Lions, went to Detroit and scored 21 points in the final quarter to come back and beat the Lions 27-23 behind Mitch Trubisky here, who has been kind of a question mark coming into the season.
Right, and the Bears, you don't look at them as from an offensive standpoint because they're not one of those teams that are they don't have a lot of weapons. I know they have a few guys that could hurt you. I know Anthony Miller is a pretty decent receiver. He caught a big touchdown pass. But the Bears are basically on their defense. If they can't stop people, it's going to be a tough season for the Chicago Bears. So we'll see what happens with the Bears. Now, your Green Bay Packers decided to put a lot of points up on the board and won 43-34 over one of their rivals in the Vikings. So the Packers go to 1-0. And Derek, an unbiased point of view, do you think that's a good start for your Packers?
Hey, it's always nice to beat the Vikings, and I mean, I I hate the Bears the most as the rival, but the Vikings are a close second, and it's always nice to beat up on them. 4 touchdowns for Rodgers. Were they going to double up Devontae Adams at some point, or no? Because he had 14 catches, 156 yards. So
42,
um,
42 points of fantasy, by the way.
he's the only guy they really have to throw to. That's a significant threat. The other guys are, Valdez Scantling and Aaron Jones is good, has been pretty good out of the backfield. And I'll throw a name out there. AJ Dillon is a tank who may steal some carries from Aaron Jones in the future. But
yeah, he's a
yes,
running
very
back
good
from
start.
Boston College. Yeah, he's a good.
Yes, very good start.
Yeah, the Packers a good start. Moving on.
Moving to the AFC here, we have the Patriots at home to the Miami Dolphins. And the Patriots always seem to struggle sometimes with the Miami Dolphins. Well, not in the Cam Newton era so far. Cam Newton coming out strong game. Tom Brady, right, Joe?
Listen, Bill Belichick's got to be happy. I mean, 1-0, and I know with them, it looks like they scored in each quarter, but the first, so they put up 7 in the second, third, and fourth. Listen, Julian Edelman's right, but Julian Edelman is definitely a guy he'll go to. But Newton, again, he's one of those quarterbacks that are going to beat you with his legs a little bit. And if the offensive coordinator there and Belichick can basically say, listen, we don't have Tom Brady anymore. We have a different quarterback. We gotta call our plays according to him, But they lost some Mohamed Sanu might hurt them. I feel like they still need some more weapons, but they got Sony Michel. So let's say that New England, good start, New England. So we go to the Washington football team, and I got to tell you, again, not an Eagles fan, but a lot of family members and friends are, as you probably will too, because we're in Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia Eagles blew the first game because, and I will just say it like this, injuries hurt you, but you cannot blow a 17-0 lead. So, Derek, let's hear from you.
We can spend an extra minute here for the Eagles if we want, but offensive line was in shambles. They mentioned it several times. It'll help with it when Lane Johnson comes back in the next week or two, but 8 sacks. I know a lot of people will say blame Carson Wentz, horrible throws, but I think it's a little bit of both. Bad throws and all that pressure is not easy to just step up and throw. I saw a couple drops. I saw a drop from Ertz right in the middle of the field there. They had, obviously Miles Sanders is going to come back here, so that'll be a little bit of a help.
Big loss, yeah.
You almost have to go through Miles Sanders and those 2 tight ends. Goddard and Ertz are 2 of the better tight ends in the league. So, tough start.
Not trying to spoil anything, but they got the Rams coming up. They got to win. It's in Philly. If you lose, you're 0-2. Then you have the Niners and Ravens coming up. Now, I think someone's in between them too. But, that's the part of the thing that Eagle fans are worrying about right now. You got to get that second win. But we'll see what happens as we keep going here.
But, hey, all due respect to the Washington football team. They played a great game at home, great comeback. Great defensive play, 8 sacks. Haskins, he did his job, didn't turn the ball over. Sometimes that's going to be enough.
Yeah, 2 Ohio State football players made their mark in Haskins, like you said, Dwayne Haskins Jr. And also, remember this name, and it just escaped me. He's the defensive end there, Chase Young. I got it, Chase Young. Yeah, he's a beast, and he's gonna have a lot of quarterbacks, fearing for their lives out there. He's a big guy.
Sure. Our next game here was the Las Vegas Raiders. First game, well, not first game in Las Vegas, just first game as the Las Vegas Raiders at Carolina Panthers. They took down Carolina 34-30. Uh, the normal Josh Jacobs, we talked about him a couple weeks or last week. He's got a lot of talent.
It's real simple. They have weapons. They're just one of those teams. John Gruden,
A lot
the
of young
defense.
weapons.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, Jacobs is a heck of a back. He scored 3 touchdowns. Like Derek Carr threw for close to 300 yards, and that's a recipe with some young players, maybe a couple veterans mixed in. They're gonna be a decent team. And remember, my sleeper.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna see if that comes true. All right, let's go on and have where we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who actually defeated the Indianapolis Colts 27-20. And in Jacksonville, Derek, there's a thing called Minshew Mania. Do you want to tell our listeners what Minshew Mania?
He's a character. Gardner Minshew. He's got his. Just look him up. He's got a nice goatee. Well, I don't know. What would you describe that facial hair he's got going on? It's kind of missing here, and
Yeah.
and it keeps it going. And
In college at Washington State.
he's got his jean shorts and everything going. Well, hey, the Colts are supposedly one of the teams that are supposed to be pretty good this year. And somehow they beat them. Not a ton of stats for the Jags. I didn't see any of that game, but I mean, Rivers put up his 300 yards, but Jags came away with a win. So who knows?
Yeah.
They moved on from Fournette, and maybe that was a cancer in the locker room. You never know that somehow now they're going to start playing well, and that's a good start, beating a good Colts team.
Is it Cam Akers or running back right now?
Cam Akers is the rookie out in Los Angeles.
Oh, he's a Ram now.
The Rams.
Yeah.
I don't even think Jacksonville has a good running back.
I was going to say,
right
I can't remember. They had Fred Taylor years ago. That's going back.
Oh.
I mean, that's what they had another really good running back from UCLA at one point. But again, I'm more of the college guy, and on the timeout, we might be hearing more college football as the weeks come on. But yeah, we'll go to the next. Derek, you want to go to the next one?
Yep. Next game here we got is the Baltimore Ravens won in a rout of the Cleveland Browns, 38-6. Not a good start for the Browns, but an amazing start for the Baltimore Ravens, who are one of the most popular picks to win a Super Bowl this year.
Well, just look what they have. I mean, Lamar Jackson is unreal. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but he did win the Heisman Trophy out of Louisville. He's still young. That's the scary thing. Him and Mahomes are going to have a real interesting time in the AFC in the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
Very, very, very fearful for defenses in the AFC. But no, Mark Andrews, tight end, running back, Mark Ingram, former Notre Dame receiver, Miles Boykin. They just have kind of weapons everywhere. And notice, I didn't say weapons, just weapons. They have them everywhere.
No, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, not much to say. The Browns will be all right. Hopefully they can get a win tonight against Cincinnati. I need Austin Hooper to do well. Maybe another shot. But anyway, yeah, so that one was a landslide. We'll move on to the next game, and that was the San Diego Chargers, who actually separated themselves from the Cincinnati Bengals and won 16-13. Joe Burrow, Derek, even though they lost, just real quick, the rookie quarterback at LSU.
Yeah, I mean, not a great game, but I did get to see the last minute or two of that game, and losing by 3 points, but they had the chance to win. It went, well, at least a tie, I should say, drove them right down the field. and they missed a 30-some yard field goal to tie it and put it into overtime, and who knows what happened from there. But um, the Chargers, you never know. Maybe a very sneaky team. Tyrod Taylor was good when he played for the Bills. He was just not what they wanted, I assume, as their quarterback, and kind of moved on from him. With Rivers leaving, now he's the starter until I believe Herbert is there from Oregon, got drafted until he's ready. So it should be a tough start for Burrow, but again, playing tonight, so we'll see if he can do something against the Browns defense, who gave up 38 to the Ravens. So we'll see what happens there. The next game was a very star-studded, we should say. It was the game of the week between the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, this was Tom Brady's first game as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Unfortunately, he had to face a quarterback who has several records of his own in Drew Brees.
Yeah, and Drew Brees, again, he's kind of like in the Tom Brady mold. He's getting older. I think if he's like 40 now, um, it doesn't matter. He competes. He's a pretty good athlete, uh, but a good win for New Orleans. Alvin Kamara, such a tough guy to cover. Michael Thomas, arguably top 3 receiver in the game, and they have a pretty good defense too. So New Orleans, a good start to their season. Again, and they welcome Tom Brady to the NFC.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now let's go to a game that a lot of people are talking about, and that would be the Arizona Cardinals went to San Francisco and got out of there with a 24-20 win. And Derek, I talked about it before, but the key to the Arizona Cardinals season is wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, he looked great. 14 for 151. And Kyler Murray played pretty well, got 91 yards rushing of his own as well. That's a big win. First game of the year going to the NFC defending champion and beating them in their home field. Granted, there's no fans, but still, you go there and you beat them after the Cardinals have not really been very relevant since back when Kurt Warner was the quarterback there with Larry Fitzgerald, who still happens to be on the team. I'm sure the 49ers turn it around from here, but I think both teams are going to be very good. That's going to be a very good division, very possible. Every team finishes above 500. Cardinals, 49ers, Rams, Seahawks, all very talented teams.
I can see it. That's a great prediction. Yep, I can definitely see it.
So our Sunday night game was in that beautiful stadium they just created in Los Angeles for the Los Angeles Rams and the Dallas Cowboys. Sunday night football, I believe the stadium is $5 billion it costs or something like that, well above second place.
Yeah.
And 20-17, the Rams came out with a big victory over the Cowboys. The Cowboys were a high-flying offense. They kind of shut them down.
Yeah, the Rams aren't known for their defense usually. We kind of saw that in the Super Bowl against New England a couple years ago. They couldn't score, but anyway, they did score this time though. Malcolm Brown had 79 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. They do have, as I said before, Cam Akers. He's not a rookie; it's a second year from Florida State. And Jared Goff, he passed for 275 yards. So a good first game though for both teams. But I think we know too though with how it looked, at least the Rams scored 3 touchdowns. I know they have weapons with Woods and Kupp, and etc. But Dallas, in my opinion, needs to play better defense. And if they don't, the shootout games are going to be tough for them to win. So we're going to move on now to the Steelers, who actually went to New Jersey and beat the New York Giants 26-16. And Derek, real quick, the Steelers with the win, and we'll get to them, but I kind of was surprised that Saquon Barkley didn't have much more to say about this game.
Yeah, I assume that's more of the, I didn't get to see that game, but I assume that's more of Pittsburgh's defense and perhaps stacking the box a little bit and saying, Daniel
Agreed.
Jones, you beat us. Um,
Mhm.
so I mean, Daniel Jones threw for his 279 yards, but yeah, Barkley never got going, and they have to be ready for that. I mean, I don't know what they have to do to get him going, but he is by far the most talented player on the Giants offense. So, especially not really upgrading receiver too much. They got Darius Slayton, they still got Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, but are any of those guys really ones that you're going to like throw the ball to in coverage and say, go get the ball? Not really.
Right.
So,
No, not
and maybe
really.
that's what
Nope.
the Steelers defense was saying was is you try to beat us and they didn't. So also I want to say Ben Roethlisberger, first game back after missing the
Yep.
entire year. Was it last year?
It was.
Um,
It was. Yeah,
yeah,
it was. That was crazy.
if not most of it, but very good comeback for him. So we'll see if the Steelers get back to being the normal Steelers and maybe giving a nice run and to that Baltimore rivalry, and we'll see where that can go. And our final game here, this was the second game of Monday Night Football. Final two teams were the Tennessee Titans and the Denver Broncos, and that seemed to be kind of a quiet game. 16-14, the Titans came away with the win. They do have a big stud there, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and just like Josh Jacobs, they both went to Alabama. So you just know what you get when you come out of a Nick Saban team. Yeah, Derrick Henry's a beast, and he's going to be uh, an absolute just monster again this year. I think also Guskowski, he's a pretty good kicker, even though we don't really talk about that too much. Uh, we should mention it because he delivered. He really did, and he got him the win. So tough loss for the Broncos, but a good start for Tennessee.
So moving on to our next segment here, we are going to run through our NFL team predictions for their record by record for each of the teams. Now, again, yes, we're a weekend and we're a little late. Okay. But and the second week may be coming before this week comes out, but we did not talk to each other about this. So we are each coming in with our own records for each team. We're going to go division by division here and run through all of the teams, all the records, and eventually we're going to talk about our playoff scenarios and who we ultimately have as the Super Bowl champion. So we will start here in the AFC East, which consists of the Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and New York Jets. So you can see my records there. I have the Bills going 8-8, the Dolphins at 4-12, the Patriots at 10-6, and the Jets at 3-13. Joe, what do you got?
So the Buffalo Bills, I have them at 10-6. The Miami Dolphins, I have them at 3-13. The New England Patriots, I have them at 9-7. And the New York Jets, I have them at 4-12.
The one thing that kind of sticks out there, I guess, is the little difference between the Bills there. Now, we saw Josh Allen had a very good game week 1. Is that your reason for putting him 10-6 and maybe in the playoffs?
I think I believe in Buffalo a little more than New England just because they get Stephon Diggs. I think that becomes a little more. John Brown looked really good in the one touchdown reception and run. And if they get a running game going, I know Singletary's there. I'm forgetting who else is the running back there, but they just seem to have more of a cohesive unit on than New England that I'm thinking at least. If their defense stops people, I think my prediction could come true, at least close.
Now,
But
I really think I really think last year was more fluky for the Bills, in my opinion. Yes, Josh Allen is a very good runner, but I don't know that the passing and completion percentage is as much there yet. Diggs was a good pickup, but I see him more of as a deep guy, and he can't complete passes to begin with as much. So I didn't really see that as much of a positive for them, and I just can't go away from Belichick. I can't. You saw it a little bit in week one, and they are just going to completely change their offense to build around Cam Newton. And I think it'll be close, but I really think that they're the team to beat here. And obviously, we don't have much hope for the Dolphins or the Jets.
When do you think, talking about the Dolphins real quick though, when do you think Tua gets his shot though?
I think they'll go 3/4 of the season. It won't be the whole season. They're just going to get too much pressure, especially with. And I feel so bad for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, I mean, hey, the guy probably makes millions of dollars, but everywhere he goes, he's the journeyman who happens to be stepping in for someone who's injured or a rookie quarterback not ready, and he always puts up numbers. But yeah, I think halfway to 10 games or so in the season, he'll be out there, and I think they're going to struggle, and that's probably why they want to wait, because they want to wait till there's a little more talent there.
Right.
And at least an offensive line presence maybe, which I know they don't have too much of. But so that's our look at the AFC East. Next up is the AFC South. That consists of the Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Tennessee Titans. So my records here, I have the Texans going 8-8. The Colts at 7-9, the Jaguars 4-12, and the Titans winning the division at 10-6.
So for me, I have the Texans at 10-6. I have the Colts at 9-7, the Jaguars at 7-9, and then the Titans at 13-3.
So a lot of differences there with at least every team is at least 2 games different. You got to explain the 13-3, and I'm sure most people are going to want to know. 13-3, Joe, for the Tennessee Titans? I know they were good last year.
I think looking at it, there is really not much not to love about Derrick Henry. And I guess maybe in a way, if they stack the box, as you said about Barkley earlier, which that was a good point you made. If they stack the box against them, and they have to throw the ball, I guess we're gonna see, what Tannehill has, what he can do. But if for some reason Henry just runs roughshod like he did last year, I don't know. I just feel like Tennessee, because that's not a crazy great division, right? The Colts and the Jaguars probably aren't going to beat Tennessee and Houston, I wouldn't think. But
yeah,
again,
no, go ahead.
No, just saying that. The more I think about it, if the Colts and Texans beat the Tennessee Titans, I'm looking a little skeptical of my pick. But no,
the Houston Texans were always, and I talked about this last week, were always an enigma to me. I've had them for years, going very far, because they have the talent. The Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You had one of the best receivers in DeAndre Hopkins, who now is gone. That's part of the reason why I have them dropping down a little bit. And you did mention last week, maybe Bill O'Brien isn't the guy, and I think maybe may be the year when they finally decide, you know what, maybe he's not the guy. Once Watt inevitably gets hurt again, their all-league defensive end. I just don't see them making the playoffs this year. Same thing for the Colts. Now you can say I don't know if you have them in the playoffs or not, but I have them at 7-9. You have them at 9-7. Phillip Rivers coming in there. Obviously, Marlon Mack just tore his ACL or Achilles or something that he's not going to be coming back from. That was their backup or starting running back.
Hines, though, they have, right?
Yeah, they have a rookie running back, Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin, who's very talented.
Very
but it's good to have that. Most teams like to have that 1-2. What do you think about the Colts? Are they're obviously the third best in the division? You have them,
right? Well, I think Indianapolis is going to go as much as Phillip Rivers is going to go. You know, T.Y. Hilton's still there. He'll help. He said Taylor's really, really good back. He should get a lot of carries along with Hines, who already scored a touchdown last week. If not two. The defense is interesting because I feel like the Colts, when their defense is really good, that's when they are really good. So I think that's why I have them at 9 wins, but maybe I overestimated a little bit. But again, I will say to all our listeners out there, for me, this was difficult to do. This was hard to do because you don't know about all these teams and you just try to handicap it best you can. But real quick about Houston, and I know we're going to move on then, but if Will Fuller stays healthy and they find another answer because Hopkins left, I think maybe my prediction comes a little close again.
I will throw you a little bone here for the Tennessee Titans. They did sign Jadeveon Clowney, who is one of the best pass rushers in the game. So that is a bit, and that was one thing, you know, could they pressure the quarterback? The defense who was maybe a little suspect last year. So maybe he puts a lot of pressure. You never know. 13-3, never know.
Derek, if I get that 13 wins right, I'm really excited.
The next team the next division we have here is the AFC North. We have the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the new Ben Roethlisberger Pittsburgh Steelers. So the records I have here, winning the division, I have the Baltimore Ravens 11-5. Bengals 6-10, Browns 8-8, Steelers 10-6.
Well, we're not too far off on. Actually, 2 of these were identical, which is kind of interesting because I'm Ravens. I have 14-2. The Bengals I have 6-10. The Browns I have 9-7. And the Steelers, I have 10-6.
So we both have the Ravens winning the division, but the Steelers being right there. Obviously, the Steelers just got James Conner hurt, which we'll see how that ankle holds up for the rest of the season. But if he goes down, that may change my prediction a little bit. But obviously, we have the Ravens being the class of the division for a reason. Lamar Jackson, MVP candidate, so that kind of goes without saying. So how about we throw a little love to the Cleveland Browns here, who we have, 9-7, 8-8, cusp of the playoffs. I don't know about you, but maybe for the talent that's there, hopefully, eventually, they can grasp a hold of it. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt at running back. You got Jarvis Landry out there. You got Beckham and Baker Mayfield. I have to think they gotta get some wins at some point. And touch the playoffs.
The only thing I really can see, and I know this might sound a little presumptuous, as I'm using a big word, like there are a lot of big egos on that team. When you think about it,
Yeah.
Just think about it. Like Baker Mayfield, Heisman Trophy winner, Kareem Hunt getting into the trouble he got into 2 years ago. And I hate to bring that up, but I won't expand on that anymore. Landry and Beckham, they're just like, I don't know. You hear them in interviews, and they're just really, really full of themselves.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to rein all these guys in and say, you're not going to win football games unless you share the ball right and you're comfortable with that. And, I don't know, but to answer your question.
Is that Kevin Stefanski?
They have a lot of,
we don't know.
That's the coach. Right, exactly. I can't remember his name. Listen, Baker Mayfield is really talented. And I believe tonight they get their first win, and maybe we'll talk about that next on the Timeout show, that Baker Mayfield will hit Landry and Beckham often this year. How will the defense play? How will Chubb run? Like, there is question marks. But they got talent. They have a lot of talent.
And I will say now the Cincinnati Bengals, we both have at 6-10, but there is talent there as well. I just don't think there's enough talent. I don't think their defense is that great. Offensive line isn't that great, but you obviously have your QB of the future there in Joe Burrow. They just gave Mixon his deal. Their running back, Tyler Boyd, AJ Green's been there for a long time, so the talent's there. I just think they need a little bit more in order to reach the Steelers and Ravens level. So what next we have here is the AFC West, Denver Broncos, the champion Kansas City Chiefs, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the LA Chargers. I almost said San Diego Chargers. Las Vegas, or not Las Vegas, LA Chargers.
Got it.
So the records I have here, Denver Broncos 4-12, Kansas City Chiefs 14-2, Las Vegas Raiders 9-7, and the Chargers at 6-10. Joe, what do you got?
So I have the Broncos at 9-7, the Chiefs at 13-3, Raiders at 10-6, and the Chargers at 5-11.
So again, some similar ones there, just off by one game with the Chiefs, Chargers, and Raiders. So what you're thinking with the Denver Broncos going 9-7?
A few things stood out for me. And again, I'm not really sure, as they don't play a lot on the East, like a lot of East Coast time. You don't see them a lot. You don't know a lot about their defense. I know it's probably decent, but Phillip Lindsay, good running back. Cortland Sutton, pretty good receiver, underrated. If Drew Lock he's got potential and some talent. The line needs a block, but I don't know. I kind of like Denver a little bit. Again, looking at your 4-12 scares me, because if the listeners might want to hold us up to this, is that maybe at the end of the year we look at our records and we start saying you were good there, I was good there, but that would be one that we're really, really different on. But no, mile high, you never know. I'm gonna just say, let's go Denver.
Yeah, and I think Drew Lock is the reason why. I don't know if he's too ready yet. Besides Sutton, what's that?
I'm sorry, who's behind Drew Lock?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is that where Flacco is at still? I'm not too sure.
He might be there. So there's a veteran
honestly,
that won.
Yeah, they do have Melvin Gordon is there, and I think it's more because of the Chiefs and the Raiders. I don't think they're going to be either of those teams.
That's true.
So that'll be 0-4 right there. And just having a young quarterback, I'm not so sure with Sutton this year. If him and Noah Fant, who's another good tight end that they have there. So we'll see. But obviously we have the Chiefs as the kings of the division. We're going to be talking about them later. We can do that. We both have the Raiders, which may raise a couple eyebrows, being not very good the past few years. 9-7, 10-6. They were your sleeper, so you go for it.
I mean, again, John Gruden, like he wins. He's always won. He comes back out of the booth. You really think that they're not going to make a run at some point, right? And just for personnel, again, Henry Ruggs actually caught 5 balls, so I'm not totally crazy when I said let's watch out for him a little bit. So Ruggs, Renfro from Clemson, another good receiver. They have a good tight end, I think, in Fells. And you got Jacobs. And Derek Carr, this could be it for him. He needs to prove that he can lead a team, right? We know David didn't really do it much. So now brother Derek has a chance with a John Gruden-led football team. Yeah, no, I just think if Gruden can't get it done in the next 2-3 years, he'll go to college and do maybe a good job. But other than that, I think the Raiders break through this year a little bit.
Yeah, real quick, that was a very good point. I wouldn't think Gruden would come out of the booth that he loves so much to go somewhere where he's going to fail. So he obviously saw something there. Obviously, and you talked about in the previous episode. If anyone needs to review that episode, please go check it out on either one of our Facebook pages. But Joe talked about a lot of the receivers there, young receivers who may be pretty good in Las Vegas this year. New place, Las Vegas. So we think maybe this is a playoff run for the Raiders. Then we come to the NFC East, where we have the Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, and the Washington football team. I just can't help but laugh when I say that. The records I have here are for the Cowboys. I have them going 11-5. I know this is going to ruffle some feathers out here, but no pun intended with the Eagles. 8-8 for the Eagles. Giants 5-11. Washington 5-11. Joe, you're a little different.
A little bit. I have the Dallas Cowboys at 9-7. I have the Philadelphia Eagles at 10-6. I have the New York Giants at 7-9. I have the Washington football team that needs a nickname at 6-10.
So yeah, and obviously Washington, they kind of are there every year, 5-6 wins. The Giants, we have kind of similar. Big switch there is who we think is going to win the division. Let me give my reasoning for the Cowboys here. And again, I talked about it last week a little bit. I really like the offensive firepower that they have there. Prescott, Elliott. Now, you didn't really see it in the first week, so I am a little worried with all my predictions that I made. For those who want to know who my MVP pick was, you can find that in the last episode. But the receiving core, now they did just lose Jarwin, which is going to hurt a little bit. But Gallup, Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and I mentioned a new offensive mind in Mike McCarthy is the coach there. So maybe some fresh eyes to get the guys going. I really think that they're going to play well this year offensively. And I think that's where the Eagles are going to struggle against them. Maybe not against other teams like the Giants and the Redskins, but I think against the Cowboys, they can't measure up with all those weapons they put on the field. And if it comes down to a shootout, I really do not trust Carson Wentz to be the one to lead them in a shootout. to defeat the Cowboys, and that's my opinion. You saw them really struggle offensively. That was without Miles Sanders, without a couple offensive tackles, but that was my reasoning for the Cowboys. Joe, what's your reason for having the Eagles win in the division?
Well, you made some good points. There's no doubt about what the Cowboys have. They have a lot of really good players, and they're very. With a new coach, you got to figure that they're going to untap some young potential, and Prescott hasn't hit the ceiling yet, right? To me, I just feel like Philly has won, and I'm not just talking about the Super Bowl. I'm just saying that it could come down to who plays better, especially in those two games with Wentz and Prescott, right? It could come down to that. The Eagles' backs were against the wall a couple of years ago, and they came out and, they lost a couple of games in a row, and I'm like, oh, they're done. They came out and they somehow tore off some wins. So, but that being said, it's so tough because the teams are similar. They really are. Maybe not in play calling, maybe not what they do, but they have similar athletes, similar running backs, except for Elliott being bigger, I should say. But the bottom line is, I think Philly has a better defense. Dallas did upgrade. Philly got Darius Slay. They got a couple good linebackers. They have more defensive backs. Until Dallas can stop people consistently, I'm not going to buy them. So I'm going, and I can be swayed in the next couple of weeks to sit there and be like, all right, now, But no, I think the Eagles are a little too talented. And even if Jalen Hurts has to come on the field and do some, run the football and do some things, maybe they do that too. But that's where I'm looking at it at.
So we'll move along here. We have the NFC South. Where we have the new look Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, and the New Orleans Saints. My records are up on the screen. I have the Buccaneers at 10-6, the Falcons 8-8, the Panthers 6-10, and the Saints at 11-5.
So the Buccaneers, I have it 10-6. The Falcons, I have it 9-7. The Panthers, I have it 5-11, and the New Orleans Saints, I have it 13-3.
So we're pretty similar here. We have the Saints winning the division, and most likely the Buccaneers as a wild card. Maybe the Falcons slipping in. We'll see what your predictions look like. And then the Panthers at the bottom. The Saints have been the team for the past few years. I don't see them going anywhere. They have a solid defense. Now they beat the Buccaneers last week pretty soundly, I believe, by 2 touchdowns, right, or so. And they looked great. I hear Michael Thomas might be out for a week or two, but that's all right. They have Kamara. They have a lot of offensive weapons there. And I think they probably will be beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in both games. The Falcons, that's tough. It's tough. I don't know if they're on the level of the Buccaneers and the Saints. It was close. Bringing in Todd Gurley will definitely help. And they obviously have Julio still there, Calvin Ridley, another Alabama, and Matt Ryan played very well. But I just couldn't see them having more than a 1-3 record, maybe against those two, and that's why I put them at the 8-8. Who stands out? Anyone you want to talk about there, Joe?
Yeah, well, we did say earlier in last week that Tom Brady, Gronk, and the cast of characters in Tampa Bay, they're going to be a pretty good team, but we did see them struggle a lot on Sunday. First game, I get it, but they didn't even throw the ball to Evans as much as I thought they were going to throw the ball to Evans. So they got to iron that all out. I think I think our picks there are quite. They're right on at 10-6. Listen, Atlanta. Some reason I think Matt Ryan regresses a little bit. And again, he's really good. There's no doubt about it. I really like Matt Ryan. But the more I thought about this, you have 3 of the oldest quarterbacks in the league. So someone's regressing.
Yeah.
And I like the other 2. And this is the perfect, I don't know if I can say it much better than this. I like Breeze and Brady over Ryan. And I like the weapons around them better than Ryan's weapons.
Yeah, very fair point. Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, in Carolina, love McCaffrey. Pretty close to Barkley, in my opinion. And he's going to be fun to watch again this year, but they just don't have even close to enough to even compete in this division unless they can surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, they did bring in Teddy Bridgewater to be the quarterback this year. He's solid, but again, is he on the level of the other 3? No, not really.
They have more.
Yeah, it could be a tough year.
They have more of Anderson, too, who seemed to have a good game. But,
yeah,
again, you're looking at a long season, so I just don't see Carolina, really making a lot of hay there.
In the NFC North here, we have the Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I know we do have some differences here. I have the Chicago Bears at 5-11, the Lions at 9-7, Packers 10-6, and the Vikings at 9-7. Before I jump in, how about you? You go first.
Well, I have the Bears at 8-8, the Lions at 4-12, the Packers at 12-4, and the Vikings at 10-6.
Yeah, some pretty big differences there. If you watched last week's episode, I talked about the Detroit Lions and how I said that was my sleeper in the NFC. I can't back down. I gotta go for it. I'm all in on the Lions. Stafford back. Hey, they didn't even use Swift much, who I talked about from the running back from Georgia. They actually brought in Adrian Peterson, and he was the leading running back. So, yeah, a tough loss to the Bears, which is not good for how I have my records here. But yeah, for me, I think the Lions are going to be a good team this year. I think the Bears. I think this is it for Trubisky. Granted, he played very well. This is complete opposite of what happened in week 1, but I'm going to stick with it. Trubisky, I think he's going to regress, and they may even move on from him, go to Nick Foles.
There it is.
Yeah, so the Nick Foles, and we'll see. I'm still a little worried about the Packers. I mentioned how Adams was the only guy who pretty much caught anything, 14 catches. There has to be other people. At some point, they're going to double him and make Aaron Rodgers throw to some other people. And I don't know if you have a team that has strong cornerbacks, if they may shut them down. So
Can they make a trade, Eric? Can they trade somebody or 2 people for a?
They never trade. The Packers never trade anything. That's the unfortunate part.
Like your Mariners.
Yeah, like the Mariners. Yeah. So that's what I have. What do you got there, Joe?
Well, let's go with the Lions first because you started there. For some reason, I don't know. Like, I like Stafford. He can be inconsistent. I can't even remember the receivers. Is that bad? Are they good? I don't even
Kenny Galladay. They got Kenny Galladay. He's a good one. Marvin Jones has been around, but.
And I guess I'm not sold on the defense there either. So I just thought, and you look at this division, Derek, do you see the Packers and Vikings losing to the Lions? Like, that could be big too if they.
Yeah. I feel like this and I would say the NFC East are 2 divisions where you never know each week who is going to beat who. and you're
Right.
not really shocked when you see that someone beat someone.
Exactly. And yeah, that's true. And I think the
On
Packers.
Thanksgiving Day, it seems like the Lions can, at least over the past few years,
Right.
are playing very well. I'm not really that scared of the Vikings. They losing Diggs, that's one less weapon. Yes, you mentioned how they brought in Jefferson from LSU, but I just don't. Kirk Cousins is really, give me Stafford over Kirk Cousins. So
Yeah, that's true.
maybe
That's a good
that's
point.
maybe that's my reasoning for putting them
Well, and I
there, and
went
that may end up being the same thing like we talked about in the NFC East with, or
right.
NFC East
Wentz
with
and Prescott.
Prescott and Wentz. Maybe that'll come down to a couple games between Stafford and Cousins. Who knows?
I went Packers though because I feel like Green Bay has a shot to do a lot of damage. You're right. Maybe they do need another receiver or someone to step up more. But throw the ball to Jones, get the ball to Jones, and also just as much as you can get the ball to Devontae Adams. But we said it before, Derek. If if Aaron Rodgers can win a Super Bowl, he might leave. And I'm not saying this
Maybe.
year, but they could make a run. I like that prediction. That might be my most solid prediction. That and the Eagles, because I just the Eagles are always hovering around 9-10 wins. So, but anyway, the Vikings, yeah, I agree with you. Thielen's a beast. Other than that, Dalvin Cook's a great running back, but they got to bounce back after the loss. So we'll see.
And finally, we have the NFC West here, where we have the
Oh,
NFC champion, reigning San Francisco 49ers, the new look Arizona Cardinals, the LA Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks. A very interesting division, like we talked about. A lot of talent here. So uh, I I have a three-way tie here, which I end up saying who goes through. I won't ruin that yet, but 3, 9, and 7s across the board because I think they all beat each other up. I really do. I think the Seahawks maybe win a couple more at 11-5, but I honestly think that all against each other, they just beat each other up and cause those 9-7 records. So that's a quickie look for me. What do you got there, Joe? A little more spread out.
so I have the Niners at 11-5. I have the Cardinals at 6-10. I have the Rams at 7-9, and I have the Seahawks at 12-4.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Cardinals kind of stand out there. You're not as gung ho on Kyler Murray yet.
Well, this was maybe the hardest division because
Yeah,
I like what you
it
did,
was.
but I was trying really not to, because that would have drove me crazy. 3, 9, and 7. I would like, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do now? But no, listen. I love Kyler Murray. I've loved him since I watched him play in college at Oklahoma. I just don't know, and Hopkins is going to be a huge addition and huge help. I just don't know if Arizona's defense again is going to be able to look at the three teams you're looking at. Seattle with a prolific offense, right? The Rams with a crazy high tempo offense, and the Niners who wouldn't have been in the Super Bowl without their offense last year. That's kind of where I'm sitting with Arizona. But no, I like their offense, and I'm really a big fan of their team. If I was doing this biasly, I probably would have had them at like 10-6. But I did it a little differently, I guess. As far as with the Rams, we kind of went opposite there a little bit. You made a great point last week, and it stuck with me as I looked at the Rams' name. McVay's been figured out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna, and I'm gonna come back to you next week as we watch or as we get highlights or whatever we do about the Eagles game. But let me tell you something: if the Rams are as good as people think they could be, we're gonna find out because the Eagles defense is gonna blitz the hell out of McVay and the Rams, right?
Yeah,
So
we'll have to see.
That's another one to see. And then I'm going to forget of the Niners because I believe that we're both kind of right. They're going to have some good wins and they're going to beat up on bad teams and they're going to end up being in a playoff. But the Seattle Seahawks, I'm telling you, Russell Wilson, if their defense can just stop some teams, their offense is just as good as, I mean, I can't, you can't really say enough about what their offense really is.
So we're coming up on an hour here, so we're going to kind of chug along here. We have our playoff pictures. We're going to run through each of the rounds here and inevitably come up with our Super Bowl picks. So first is my AFC playoff picture. So you can go back and see who I may have left out. For timing reasons, we'll keep this moving. But the Ravens I have as the 2 seed, defeating the Cleveland Browns, who jump in as the 7 seed. The New England Patriots I had at the 3rd spot, I believe at 10-6. And then the Raiders are the 6th seed. They take them down. And then I had the Steelers coming back. This may not be that out there, the normal, the Ravens, Patriots, Steelers. But I have them beating the Titans, and I immediately, when I thought of that, I thought of, well, they really shut down Saquon Barkley last week. So that made me think, you know what, maybe they can do the same kind of game plan to Henry. So I have the Steelers going through. The divisional round, I have the Chiefs as the number 1 seed. They would face the lowest seed, that being the Steelers at number 5. I have the Chiefs winning. And then the Ravens and the Patriots. I don't know if they could stop Lamar Jackson. That's strictly why I have them going through. And obviously that will leave the Chiefs and the Ravens to be in the championship game. I will tell you who I have a little bit later to see who we have in the championship game. Any quick thoughts there, Joe, on what I've got in there?
Well, 1 and 2 is, I mean,
yeah,
there's not much to say, right? 3, if you're right about 3, that's going to make me disappointed. But the Patriots, we don't have to think about the Patriots. No, that's a good pick. Defense and new inning, yeah, they're probably gonna get in. 4, for some reason, I think they're gonna be better than what they are. But you're right, maybe that matchup with the Steelers Titans matchup. The only question I had was, do you think it matters that Barkley and Henry are different runners? Like Barkley more, you know what I mean, smaller.
Yeah. It's not going to be as easy, but
that's a good point.
I really do think that their defense is what's going to carry them a lot this year, the Steelers, and that's my strict reason for having them go through. I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Chiefs, but so we'll move on here to Joe's playoff picture. We got the wild card round first.
Yeah, I actually have the Chiefs at 2, facing the Houston Texans. I think Watson finally breaks through a little bit. Maybe O'Brien keeps his job. J.J. Watt stays healthy. The Titans, I got them facing the Raiders. Nice 3-6 matchup there. And I got the Steelers at 4, and I have them facing the Bills and Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs. Maybe no. Yeah, that's what I got there for 4 versus 5. And then I have the number 1 Ravens taking on the number 5 Steelers. Could be an interesting matchup, division foes, right? And then the Chiefs at 2 versus the number 3 Titans. And I wanted to see if I could play around as we'll look at my AFC Championship, but I went chalk. I went Ravens versus Chiefs, Mahomes versus Jackson. It would sell a lot of tickets if we could have fans in the stands, but keep it COVID.
They're same kind of chalk matchup. We had the same thing. Just quick thoughts. Like you do have for the most part, we're the same. We do have you have the Bills and Texans in here, and I talked about what I thought of the Bills and Texans. So, but you don't have them going anywhere, anyways. But Ravens, Chiefs, we both have the same AFC, but maybe different winners. We'll see in a little bit here. as I move to my NFC picture. Wild card round. Number 2 seed, I have the Saints taking down the Lions. No, Lions, okay. I put them in, but we, not beating the Saints. The Rams is remember I had three-way tie in the NFC West. I put the Rams as the team who got the extra boost. And they face the Cowboys and lose, and then I have the Packers taking down Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I strictly put that in because I want to finally see a playoff matchup between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. And I think the Packers would be able to take them down there. A little bit different here. Divisional round, so I have the Seahawks as the number 1 seed. I have them non-biased, can't be biased here. I have them beating the Packers. I think they'll be able to I think Russell Wilson is really going to be unleashed this year. With Schottenheimer, I believe, is there, or Shanahan. Shanahan is there. And they brought in Carlos Hyde to be a nice backup to Carson. So I really think that they can beat the Packers. And then I got to stick with the Cowboys. I put them over the Saints. That'll be a shootout if there ever was one on that turf. I'm going Cowboys. I really think the receivers this year, if you didn't hear me last week, I think there will be 3 1,000-yard receivers on the Cowboys in Gallup and Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. So I do have a Seahawks and Cowboys NFC Championship. We'll see who I have in the Super Bowl coming up. Joe, NFC.
Right, here we go. The NFC matchups.
Oh, sorry.
I have the Seattle Seahawks as a 2 seed facing the Minnesota Vikings, with the Seahawks coming out victorious. I have the Packers at 3 facing the Eagles. Too much Aaron Rodgers, too much Devontae Adams, even for that Eagles defense. I have the Packers moving on. And the Niners at 4, but I have the Buccaneers in an upset. The Buccaneers pull the upset Tom Brady over Garoppolo. So, yep, that's what I have there in those first 3 matchups. New Orleans Saints at 1 facing the Buccaneers. I have the Saints and Drew Brees marching on as they did in week 1. And the Seahawks versus the Packers. I have the Seahawks beating your Packers in that matchup. Russell Wilson, like you said, a little too much. And my NFC title matchup is the New Orleans Saints and the Seattle Seahawks.
So a little different there, but we both do have the Seahawks. So we had 3 of our 4 in the final 4 are the same. So Super Bowl predictions to end off the show here. Here's what we have. My Super Bowl picks are the Kansas City Chiefs will defeat the Baltimore Ravens, in my opinion. I think the home field for Andy Reid's squad, and I really don't know if they can slow them down. We haven't seen anyone who has. And then I'm going with the Seahawks. Again, I really think it's going to be Russell Wilson. They cleaned up the line a little bit, which has been a problem in previous years. They have the receivers, like you said, in Lockett and Metcalf. Carlos Hyde, good backup, brought back. And I will mention Adams, who is Josh Adams, one of the best safeties in the league that they got from the Jets. Jamal Adams, excuse me, who is a really good run stopper and one of the best safeties in the league, which could really make that defense a lot better. And I truly think that they are going to be my Super Bowl champion, and I think it will be because of Russell Wilson who will be the one leading. Like I said, I think he will be. You've heard it on several shows now. He's gonna be unleashed. He wants to pass the ball. He does not want them to be a
Russell's world, we're all
boring.
living in it.
Yeah, he doesn't want them to be a boring running offense anymore. He wants to be the guy and to win the games, and I think he's going to do it. I have the Seattle Seahawks winning Super Bowl.
I respect that. Yep.
What do you got? What do you got, Joe?
Well, Derek, we have, drum roll please, the Drew Brees led New Orleans Saints. I just think that I don't know, Michael Thomas hasn't even, he's so good, and I just like, no, it wasn't hard to do it. I did like the game, but I think, to me, I just think that this could be Brees' last game. Wilson's got a couple more years left in, and if not more. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about Drew Brees. I've loved him since college. So, and as I say that, it's going to be the old versus the new. Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens. They're going to get there. They're going to beat the Chiefs somehow. I'm not sure how. Don't ask me. We got
56-49.
What do you think? I mean, and you know, sometimes as listeners would, as an aside, the Super Bowl comes very close to my birthday sometimes. So it's like a double celebration, you know, because I'm born on Groundhog's Day. So that's, you know. But anyway, so yeah, Baltimore, New Orleans. My Super Bowl champion is the New Orleans Saints. And if you listened last week, I did say and Derek is laughing because he knows I have to defend it now. My MVP was Lamar Jackson. My coach was definitely Mr. Hardball, but
that's a regular season award. Doesn't matter.
Right.
That's a fine.
Exactly. I was gonna say that is that the Ravens could have the best season ever. They could go 15-1, but New Orleans is gonna be waiting for them in Tampa Bay, and I just believe that it could be the Saints' year this year.
So that'll wrap things up for us. We had a lot of fun bringing this to you. All of our records and talking about the week 1 of the NFL season. Now next week, we will be going into 3 levels of football for you. We're going to talk a little bit of high school football, just area. If anyone is not from Pennsylvania, you may not know what we're talking about, but feel free to jump in with the college portion. We're going to jump into college a little bit as that's starting to ramp up. We just got news that the Big Ten is going to be starting up in October, so we can talk a little bit about that. And then we may recap the week 2 of the NFL season, but big slate going, Joe. So a lot of stuff going on.
There is, and just so everyone knows, and we'll talk about this next week too, but we're very excited to tell you that we're gonna, in a couple weeks, I didn't want to give the date exactly because I don't want to mess it up or all, but no, just that when baseball comes out with their absolutely set playoff picture, we'll bring that to you as 16 teams will be in it. And Derek, we might have to have a special show just for me, even if it's 15 minutes, about if the Philadelphia Phillies don't get in, as currently they are on playing the Mets again. And we talk about that all the time, that, you know, it just kills me that we're blowing the season there. We're blowing the season. Little by little there.
We'll get into that, I'm sure.
I'm sure it's going to come up. At some point, it's going to come up. But no, it's been real great. And we are definitely looking forward to the next couple weeks because we're going to have a bunch of good shows. And listen, like, and comment and ask questions because this is a timeout show.
Yes, but please send off your championship picks, Super Bowl picks into the comments. Feel free to like, comments, and please look out for our Facebook page. Invites should be coming out soon, and then we will be putting our videos directly on the page. as well as on each of our pages as well. But we would love for you to check out the Facebook page and like us and follow us on there. Um, it's been fun. Thank you very much, everyone. For Joe Azalina, my name is Derek Gano. This has been Time Out, and thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Take care.